Hello and welcome to another episode of the Career Revolution podcast, where big ideas for careers start small and they start here. My name is Licia Dewing and I'm a career strategist. And today's guest is a marketer of marketers. Erna George works in the South African operation of PepsiCo. And she has had an incredible corporate career that started at a very interesting turning point for her. But without any further ado, I'm going to bring Erna into the studio and let her tell her story. Welcome, Erna. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, Licia. Great to see you again. Thank you very much.
It's exciting to have you here to share your career revolutions along the way as a seasoned marketer with the expertise and the experience and just the longitudinal miles that you have to date racked up in your career. And I just want you to start at the beginning. Tell us where it all began. Tell us how it started.
A long time ago is the short answer. But my career in marketing probably started way back in school, which, it was unexpected. I'd actually joined a junior achievers business program at school. It was on the side, met an organization, and I was introduced to this thing called marketing. And it was a long time ago. And, growing up, we knew about accountants, we knew about lawyers, we knew about doctors, but this thing called marketing was very new to me. And I actually managed to get a scholarship from the organization that supported the Junior Achievers program. And I went to work there every holiday during my kind of last years of school and into my years of university. I even packed shelves. We were in the stores with store managers, and then we got to go into these marketing meetings with agencies and then learned all about brand positioning. And that's really where it started. So this was kind of something I fell into, but I actually grew into, which has been phenomenal because I've been part of it from the ground up. I then joined Unilever a long time ago, but as an assistant brand manager, worked my way through brand manager, senior brand manager, and just very, very strong classical marketing grounding that Unilever gives you. I was really privileged to be part of that. And then I thought, wow, I need to do something a little bit different. And I remember somebody asking me the question, like, what do you want to do? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Which is a question I absolutely hated. And I said, I really want to be happy. And I really want to have done some big things. And at that point, I was like, I need to do something a little bit differently. And I then thought, there's this whole agency world out there. What if I go and learn that? And then come back and be an even better marketer than I could ever think of myself being. So I went and did that. I went and I left and was in a boutique design agency, Impact Design. Actually became the managing director of that agency, built up strategy, marketing of the agency, learned client service, the business of business. I did that for a few years with some great business partners. I then left that business to go into a consulting business and learn marketing and branding from a whole different angle. Went into added value, which is now Kantar Consulting. And that was incredible. Worked across so many categories, so many geographies, so many brands. Actually learned insights, and I became the head of qualitative insights in that business while I still retained my brand. And we were actually called brand qualies, hybrids. And that's where I learned I actually like lots. I like lots. And actually stretch myself across both qual and brand and consulting and across these geographies and brands was really exciting for me. I then had a little one. And life had to slow down a little from all the travel because I'd filled 1.5 passports in about 5 years. I decided to head back. And I joined what was then Pioneer Foods back into marketing, built up that marketing team, worked across a plethora of brands and categories. Then I went into business. I became the GM of that category. So general manager, learned invoice, like kind of income statements, and was responsible for 9 facilities, about 24 income statements. And I learned the business of business while still running the marketing team. And then I was able to put marketing into a very strong commercial function and thinking, and really an exciting part of that journey. And then I was like, no, let's go back to marketing. Let's go back to what you absolutely love. And PepsiCo joined, bought Pioneer Foods at that time. And I went back into an interim role, built the marketing function a little from a South African perspective, and then headed back into insights, which I'd learned in added value. And now I head up insights. But I'm very strongly involved with the marketing team. It's all about enterprise insights, brand insights, and strategic insights, and another aspect of marketing that's just kind of filled my backpack along the journey.
And that's why I refer to you as the marketer of marketers, because your career is a testament to, you know, that expression, sort of sitting across the table. And you were in the University of Marketing from Unilever. What a formative and formidable place to start growing and learning, you know, as you say, in those early days. But then to switch to agency, and then actually into, you know, specific consulting, then into big brands. And it's so interesting that that organization took you into the business unit. As you say, you understood this insight of, you know, combining the strength of business with marketing. So you were grounded in what was real, necessary, available, rather than, you know, dreams that come out from the marketing table. But you wanted to steer yourself back into that. So you might have, at that point, that revolution might have continued, and you might have moved away from marketing and stayed in business unit and business unit decisioning. So how did you, like, talk me through that juxtaposition? Because I think that's quite interesting. It's like you were successful, and it was the organizational structure that was pulling you away from the thing that you knew ran in your blood. Like, this ran in your veins. Like, this is what you wanted to do. But you like, whoa, I've got to go back. I've got to go back, and I've got to get back into the thing that I love and enjoy so much. And then it was obviously the insights and the strategy part of it too.
Yeah, and I think, Lisa, if I think back to those conversations we were having during the restructure, which led me into being a general manager, and I remember saying to my boss at the time, I really respected him because he really taught us a lot on the journey and allowed us to make decisions. And I said to him, I think this is the job I need to learn. It's not necessarily the job I will love for the rest of my days. And, you know, we had a really great conversation around that and saying, look, let's give it a try. And it felt like a really important critical experience, and we treated it as such. And I put my arms around it, but I think we both knew at some point there'd be a pivot. And the pivot luckily came at the same time as the business was pivoting. And that was almost a bit of a push and a reminder, because I'd got into the space, as you say, you kind of get into things, you put your arms around things, and you just keep going. And it's really easy to keep going. It's really easy to keep doing what you've always done. And, you know, you've got this point of success. And I had some great success as a general manager. I also had some really tough learning times and development times, as we all do. And then the business pivoted, and it was a bit of a shake-up for me, going, oh, this wasn't what I was going to do forever. And it was really good to have that conversation on my own terms, and to say, you know, and my boss had by then changed, and he knew that I'd been in marketing, and he'd been in marketing for a long time. And I said, I'm really looking to get back into marketing. And it started with a conversation. And I said, look, what could be coming? Where could we going? I'm not in a hurry. And I think that was also an important part. Like, there wasn't like this burning platform, but it was just this little niggle that said that creativity and that aspect of not always being, and I use these words loosely, weighed down by the operational reality. Because sometimes operations move so fast, and you have to act so fast that you're just doing. And what I really loved about marketing is the ability to always future focus and think ahead, so that what we're crafting today actually helps us build tomorrow. And that's the part that I miss the most. And then what that did, it became a burning platform internally. And you start having the right conversations, and you start finding opportunities, and you start thinking about where it could be. And that's what led to the interim role. And was it perfect? No, it wasn't perfect. But was it right for where I was? And was it a great bridge? Yes, it was.
Ah, fantastic. And The other thing that is so striking about your particular career trajectory is the size of these organizations that you have navigated through. Not the agency, not the consulting, because those were fairly smaller, but you are in these, you have navigated through these monolithic corporates. I mean, Unilever is huge and massive. Just the scale of their share head office in Durban. I mean, as a Durbanite, I know the size of it, and everything that's in between that in terms of culture and organization and how does it work and how does it move. So can you speak to that element in terms, I mean, obviously Pioneer, one of the biggest organizations in South Africa, and then they acquired PepsiCo, a massive global organization. And can you speak to that, the nuances of it's a tightrope of staying true to what it is that you want to do and still honoring what the business wants you to do. And you've walked that tightrope.
Absolutely. I think a tightrope is a great way to describe it, because and the reason I say that is a tightrope can be really scary. I quite like things that keep me a little on edge, ever since, because when I get comfortable, I know sometimes you need that little wake up. But actually, if you think about a tightrope, it's in the space of entertainment and a circus or some kind of bigger space. And that's how you have to
everyone's
see it.
looking up, right? Everyone's watching you.
You have to see it in the space of something bigger than just that tightrope, because the other way to look at the corporate space is, and people often talk about that corporate game and, playing in that matrix. And if you treat it a little lightly and a little bit like, I'm here to have fun and I'm here to be part of something bigger, it becomes a lot easier. And it isn't just focused on the rope that you're kind of working and you're trying to stay balanced and I'm trying not to fall. But actually, I'm here to have a bit of a good time and to learn while I'm doing it. And what if somebody can teach me how to walk on this tightrope a little bit better? And what if there's somebody there that can show me how I can reach higher? And what if there's something else behind when I get to the end and there's another tightrope? And I think that's what fascinates me. What fascinates me is the people within organization. What fascinates me is the culture of organization. And they work differently. All of them work differently. And the thing I do first is I learn the organization. And actually at Unilever, they had these two values. And the one was organizational awareness. And that was about knowing how it works, who's who, and who makes the decisions. Sometimes we think that we don't need to know the receptionist, or actually we need to know only the CEO. But the reality is if you know how the organization works and you know who's who and how it works, you get things done faster. You actually manage things a lot better.
Yes.
And when you have those connections, the ride is a lot better too.
Yes. And there's an element of trust in your description of the tightrope, where I'm walking this because there's something bigger and someone on the other side is going to help me, move me, advise me. There's an inherent trust that you were fortunate to have, because let's face it, not everybody's experience within these big corporate organizations, that word trust is often what they don't have. It's often, the lack of it. But you speak in this sense with the confidence of having walked the tightrope and confidence of having walked, continuing. I don't doubt there'll be many tightropes in the future that you'll continue to walk. But there's this sense of trust. And I put to you that it's not an external trust. It's a trust within your own self. Trust that you know that you're going to be able to get through it and that you can navigate it, and it's going to be hard and challenging, but you will make it through. And that comes from that's like the nature-nurture debate, was it the family environment, or was that you said, when you said, I just love this and this concept of marketing and I won this achievement award. Back then, in those early school days, Erna, you knew that if you just trusted in yourself and worked hard and did it, things would work out. Would you agree that there's the story of trust that just has, and you trusted in yourself, and that's the tightrope.
At least that's the trust that you need, right? It's the trust in yourself. And I haven't had it consistently all the time. And remembering to go back, one of my biggest lessons is remembering to trust myself and know myself and trust that that's enough. And that I will have the best possible journey if I'm confident. Because if you don't know what you want and you don't ask for what you want, the organization can't give it to you. So,
Yeah.
there's oftentimes you felt like I'm working so hard and why is no one seeing it? And the thing I want to tell people is, why are you not telling anyone? Because, and it sounds really weird. And as South Africans, we're often incredibly humble. We kind of, we sit in the background, we get things done. And I think I learned quite early that just having conversations with people and just shooting the breeze about, this is what I'm working on, this is what I'm doing, it wasn't boasting about what I was working on, but it was actually creating connection between the work I was doing and the people that I needed to make that work have more impact and have more positive impact. That actually, it ceased being about me, but it actually did benefit me. And when you find that duality and you kind of go, trust in myself, share myself, and that part is really hard sometimes, is sharing yourself in your true form and being and feeling like you can be who you need to be, and then create those connections that allow it all to be lifted. But without that confidence and trust in self as a starting point, you can't necessarily get to steps 2 and 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And your LinkedIn profile, or your LinkedIn profile and headlines are magnificent, but it talks about we go boldly together.
Yes.
We go boldly. Tell us about this. It's an Ernerism, right? This is you. This is you speaking. This is not something that comes from your organization. This is what you're
No.
representing.
And I actually was incredibly blessed to go on a purpose course where we actually, as part of the course, we generated what our personal purpose is. And that process was really phenomenally important as part of my history. And it draws on your roots, who you are, and it also draws on your loves. And craziness, one of my loves as a kid was Star Trek. And I remember in this process, I phoned my mom and I phoned people. I was like, what did I really love? This journey of learning me, and Star Trek came up. And Star Trek was all about breaking frontiers and going boldly. And so in that whole journey, and I kind of uncovered my purpose as sparking breakthroughs in others, so that we can go on to live and be well boldly together. I looked back on my history and what I'd done, and a lot of it was about bold. A lot of it was, let me go and ask the question. And people was like, oh my God, are you going to ask? And it was like, what if they can just say no, right? And a lot of it, in terms of who I learned I was about just going, let's go, let's jump, let's try. What's the worst that can happen? And I remember having a coach years ago, and he said to me, he goes, when you do something, think about what's the actual risk to you.
Yes.
And if there's none, why wouldn't you do it? That's all you've been about to this point. And that was a really good inflection and memory point. And so boldness is part of who I am. And I've started embracing it more. And I'm loving it.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you speak to the quest of purpose, which is such an important element that we all need to take ownership of. Again, you benefited from a purpose journey that was guided from the organization. How fantastic, how wonderful, bravo, big sort of round of applause, because that's often not the case. And it's often that, as a career strategist, what my work is to encourage people to take ownership of their careers and to figure that out for themselves, to do that purpose work. It's what we all have to do. Whether we think we know it or not, at some point, if we don't get that clarity. And I love how that strung together this narrative for you, which was piqued by your Star Trek interest, but it was about breaking frontiers and we go boldly. So what tell us about the future. Like where I know you've been doing lots of writing,
Yes.
personal stuff. I know that you also very comfortable on stages and you speak, and you're like the Pipska MC. You're the internal amazing person that does all of that. And I'm not asking about, what's the future of where your career is, because we're all going to watch with, excitement about how those plans unveil themselves. But in terms of we go boldly and breaking frontiers, there's this marketing element, but I know that you've also got something much bigger and deeper than that. Again, it's like there's always a bigger thing. So are you happy to share some of that now with us?
Absolutely. And
Great.
I almost want to take a step back, because I just want to, it sounds like it's all put together and it sounds like it's all amazing. Even since doing that purpose training and figuring this thing out, fueling it is so important. And I know you and I have been working together, and that's been part of the journey of refueling and re-remembering and re-reminding, because sometimes we get sucked back in. And part of it was going back to, I used to write for Mark Lives. I think I did that for well over 10 years, going back to some things. Oh, I really enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed having a point of view. I was a mentor in the Alan Gray Orbis Foundation, and did that for a long time, and just giving back to others and paying it forward and mentoring. And I'd done that in all the organization I've been, but doing it in a more formalized capacity was a big part of who, I was, that I kind of let fade a little, doing a little bit. And going back to those two things is going to be a pivotal part of what I'll be doing going forward, and what I've started doing in the last few months. And then thirdly, putting myself out there, which I do in kind of one-to-ones and so forth. But yeah, you talk about speaking and, being an MC. I'm going to be doing a little bit more of that. So what I've done firstly is going to start a newsletter, which I'm quite excited about. And it's going to be called Reap, which is, it'll all be revealed in the first one in terms of why that is, because building a personal brand and navigating this corporate space, and as you pointed out, that it's not easy for all, is what I want to be writing about. And I want to be able to pay it forward on a broader scale, not just in one-on-ones and the people that I happen to meet. So that'll be launched in the next bit. And I'm hoping, to get lots of feedback from people about the things that they're struggling with, and how we can maybe bring some other people on board and create something that just enables others to learn from each other, because we're a community of humans, and we can get so much more when we build things together. And then, the kind of putting myself out there piece, I'm doing that one by one, bit by bit. Managed to, I was MC for a conference not too long ago, and just kind of weaving together what I understand about value chain and marketing, and what people's conversations and the insights part. I absolutely love doing that. So looking at that, chatting to a friend about maybe starting a podcast. That one is like nascent, like new. But in that bucket of sharing forward more on a broader scale, that's definitely something that I want to be doing. And then on the mentoring thing, I'm just trying to formalize that a little bit more within the organization. I'm mentoring a wonderful young man right now. And just those are the things that I'll keep doing, and I'll keep putting myself out there. But I think the beauty is that I'll be able to mentor via the newsletter, potentially via putting myself out there, and then on one-on-ones. And these three things will come together. And in doing that, I'm actually finding that I'm meeting more people. I'm engaging with people both within the organization that I work in and beyond. And good things will come from it. And I think that's where another piece of trust comes in, is that if you trust what you're doing and you give it enough, it builds more bridges. And from there, as fast as this world is moving, I have no doubt the careers are going to change and the things we do are going to change. And I'm going to be right in there, jumping in both feet. And I'm going to learn as I go, because learning, curiosity, and building relationships are two of my tenets. And then having a lot of resilience along the way, because you'll get clapped down because we don't know it all. And then, using these pillars is kind of what I'm going to do. Is it perfect? Is it absolutely mapped out? No. But are the buckets clear? Yes.
Oh, how exciting. What I see is you walking a tightrope, but it's of your own personal creation. And the audience, where they have previously been within organization, is now out there. It's your LinkedIn audience who are reading the newsletter.
Yeah.
It's people in the audience listening to the emceeing, and it's your mentees who you are choosing to pour into and mentor. So that is like really exciting. So there's a big audience of people looking up at Erna on this tightrope, which is going to be exciting. But as you say, is it perfectly planned and set out and everything? No, but you're leaning into something that just sparks light and joy, and it just keeps pulling you. The risk of you not doing this is a greater play on your mental, physical, and emotional well-being than you actually going into doing it.
100%.
Right?
100%. And I think we underestimate that mental well-being, and then staying sparky within ourselves, because that's the only way we can give to others. And taking care of self. And I was having a conversation this morning, and we coined this being self-carey. This is going to be a self-carey focus, or activity or moment, and building some time in your day to do that. I cannot explain how important that is. No matter what form it takes for you, critical
to grow with. Exactly. Now, as we round off, I know that you've got a wealth of information and advice and career revolution tips to share, but I did ask you specifically to share one with us. So if you could just pick that one. But for everyone listening, we're going to drop the link to the newsletter in the comments. We're going to, follow Erna on LinkedIn and so forth. But yes, serve us your revolutionary tip.
Yeah. So Lisa, you know me well enough to know that it's not going to be one, because there's always lots. So probably the three things for me, and I kind of smattered them through our conversation, is the first one is know yourself and stay true to yourself. Remembering yourself along the journey and staying true to your purpose. And if you can, unlock it early, because it feeds your soul. And while you're doing that, use that to build your strong personal brand, which is much more important in today's world than it was when I initially started. And know yourself, be true to yourself, stay true to your purpose, and build that personal brand. The second one will be fill your backpack up with lessons in each role. I know we're always wanting to go upwards. My career has been a zigzag. I've gone left, I've gone right, I've gone backwards, I've gone forwards. If you're very clear what's in it for you, and you fill your backpack with the lessons from each of your roles and from each of your interactions, and you understand your value in your workplace from point one, it's amazing. Because then what you get is a committed relationship between yourself and the other person, organization, rather than a loyalty piece. I'm a believer that loyalty is for Labradors, and commitment, which is a two-way street, is for yourself within an employment or within a working environment. So that way you'll unlock the best for your journey. And then find and build your tribe to support your journey. It keeps you buoyant, and people like you, and people that keep progressing you. And remember within that tribe to pay it forward, because that bounces back and it builds you again.
Absolutely amazing. I love that. Know yourself, fill your backpack. Loyalty is for Labradors. I mean, oh my gosh, can you just do a keynote on that, please? Because you'll sell out left, right, and center.
I'll do that.
Sorry, we're already crafting that you're going to be just doing that stuff. And your third, so powerful, all of them, powerful. Find your tribe and build your tribe, because it's the people around you that are going to get you and support you there. So much wealth of experience. I am sorry that we need to end off, because I think, I could keep talking. I could keep listening to you for the rest of the afternoon, quite frankly. Absolutely. I love it. I love the way that it's this convergence of your marketing brain that just puts things into such clarity. The way that you can put something across, it's in this beautiful, it just sounds, I can hear the marketing going tick, 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 tick. This is what how you're going to say it. But without further ado, we're going to have you back again for sure, because there's we want to know what happened on the other end of the tightrope that you've already openly shared that you're going to be walking along and working through. So Erna, really, it is an absolute honor and pleasure to know you, to work with you, and to witness the work that you are doing. in the world, within your organization and externally, outside of your organization. So many powerful, powerful things. South Africa needs your voice. South African corporate women need your voice. The world needs your voice. We all so appreciate the bravery that you have in openly sharing your story. So thank you for the first of many, I hope. If I say it out loud, it'll happen. Many, I hope. And that thing about podcasting with your friend, yes, do that for sure. And thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing your career revolutions along the way.